Yeah, it's good because wins are a bit far and few in between. So it was a sellout crowd, as it always is with the New Year's Eve game. I've highlighted this a couple of times where I've experienced it from both ends now as the home team, but before I came here as the away team. When I was an assistant coach, and it was a great vibe. The crowd was engaged, and it was great, and so it was good to be able to reward the community for what's been a crazy month, and also the guys. We've had a mental schedule. Again, like if you ask anyone in the room, they enjoy playing more games than training, and for us to now. January is a little bit more spaced out, so we can rest up some bodies and prepare, but. We're exhausted, and to finish out on a good note and keep everyone happy, including ourselves, is pretty important.
Just on that schedule, I think you play more games now than any other team after having that 3 weeks away. How getting through this stretch, how proud are you of the team to have the record that they do, knowing that you've gone through double header after double header, and I guess seeing that light ahead where like catching the rest.
Yeah. The cool thing about this young group, right, is when we talk about our momentum swings and inconsistency, it's not through lack of effort. Tonight's an example where we had 4 rookies contribute a lot of good minutes and a lot of good basketball. No other team has 4 rookies that play as many minutes as we do. But the reality is that doesn't always happen, right? Because they're rookies. The inconsistency, and I think we showed that in Sydney, where, even to use Bobby as an example, where he had a great game against Perth, not so great game against Sydney, and so we're not a team that relies on 1 or 2 guys to get the win. We're needing 5 or 6 guys collectively to not play outside of themselves, but just play their role, and do their role well. Tonight we had everyone who stepped on the court played well, and so that's where I sort of kept with the 8, I think it was, the 8 that played, 4 of them being rookies, and we just rode with that momentum. Helped Melbourne didn't zone, which was because so that was also a benefit. But no, the guys were good.
Remember last season you were talking about you built a team to beat the Kings with the record so far. Did you build this team to beat United, or is that just a byproduct of the talent you have in the matchups?
Nah, and again, Melbourne are the number 1 team. They're killing it at the moment, and I felt like at any point they were going to zone, but I also understand why they didn't, because they're locking in on what they do really, really well, and so. It's almost, if I'm in Dean's shoes, and I'm not making any assumptions here, but, they're trying to say, okay, can we weather this storm? Because they could lose a bunch of games here on out, and they're not losing that top spot, right? So I don't think it's more so a case of, we built this team to beat Melbourne. I think that's that'd be hopeful thinking. I think it's just playing styles, suit, and we're still a team obviously that's has some flaws in some areas, but as a team that can crawl in and defend and attack it, against another team that wants to crawl in and defend, they're the number 1 defensive team. And I feel like we're pretty close to the mark too, so it's something that we train for every day and we're conditioned for.
My last one, I'm just going to ask about him on Boxing Day. Josh Roberts, 11 minutes tonight, played really, really well. What is it about Josh? I guess, again, probably against Melbourne. I think he's done the best night against Melbourne as well. But does this matchup suit Josh, or is he just finding form and finding things?
I mean, he's a rookie out of mid-major program, and so there's a lot of teaching points, and this is where, again, I remember I used Sam in the last presser as an example, and there's other guys, but virtually there's everyone on our team in a similar situation, but the extremes of a good game and a bad game are just too wide. And so we don't have the luxury, right, to gauge if you're going to turn the corner. And so if you come out in a stretch and you're not ready and you're not engaged, and depending on what your defense or what the training session was like, your level of engagement, because we do have a lot of young guys, it's a short hook, right? And so it's just an example where he came out, he was ready, he was engaged. Whether it's a matchup thing, I don't know. But again, we're talking about, Sydney, for example, where they really packed it in. Josh isn't a great matchup against that because he doesn't have an outside shot.
Obviously, there's no question Sam keeps popping up with his presses because he's found some good consistency. I mean, can you talk about his journey since he arrived in Cairns? And I remember him shooting in the off-season and grinding in those mornings, and you telling us that he'd
This is going to sound really rude, but I think we spent 4 minutes on this in the last presser.
Yeah.
And I feel like, again, I don't want to be rude, but yeah, I felt like we went to, and I don't want to diminish his impact, but I felt like I nailed it in the last presser. So refer back to that one for your answers.
One of those is, so I think today I think he hit 5 threes at this point. Sam fakes it, drives, hits Patrick for 3. This is guys just turned 22-year-old better players. That's something that you don't see often from young guys in the league.
Well, as long as he just doesn't turn into that guy that keeps shooting threes. I've got enough bigs that shoot threes. I need Sam to keep mixing it up on the inside. So he had a great game. We'll ride that momentum. And if he keeps shooting at that rate, fantastic. But again, what I love is his 11 rebounds. And that's off the back of getting 10, I think, against Perth. And that was a big criticism I had with him at the start was, you got to be able to mix it up with the bigs. And, Sam's responded in a great, great way.
Sam, but tonight, regardless of points, threes, stats, you feel like you really grinded out there this week in the team, along with your teammates around you?
It was a great team win. There were moments where Melbourne kind of went on a slight run and things like that, and we just did a great job of coming together. Moments where I feel like a month ago we would have, broke down and struggled to weather that storm. There was no doubt in my mind that we were going to win that game. Just the way we were playing, the way everyone was confident and playing together.
I know you got some big games at Davidson, but how was the arena tonight? Is that something?
Yeah, it was good. It was a great arena. It was a great crowd. There was just such good energy there. And I was just super happy that we were able to give the crowd a win, especially on New Year's Eve and everything that's been going on in Cairns. It was great.
Guys, I might be wrong, but I think Tyler scored his 1,000 points tonight at one stage. That's going to feel good for him, I guess. Maybe 1,000 more than Cairns, possibly.
I think it was it Wardenberg's 50th game as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was a couple of milestones. Very cool.
Chris, you got anything on Zoom?
Couple just quickly, if I can. Sam, as Forde's talked about before, we don't need to go back over it like he said, but you've been playing at a high level for a while now, but now for your outside shot to fall to that level like it did tonight, what does that do for your, not your confidence, because I'm sure it wasn't lacking, but what does that do for you?
It's more like what it does for the team. like I think it just helps open up that space. And now you've got myself and Wardenberg being able to knock the shot down with confidence. It just helps open up everything and give us options. And then again, like Forde said, don't fall in love with it. I'm confident with it. I work on it every day. I've always had a good shot, so keep knocking down the open ones. But then it really just makes the defense have to work a little harder because now we got that paint opening up.
How big of a part of the team is it that you've got Taipans Round who can do such a great job of getting the ball in the paint or at least inside the key, then they can dish out to find somebody like you? I mean, what's it like for you to play with those two guys?
Makes my job pretty easy. That's all. I can just sit out on the perimeter and shoot threes. You don't get that much as a big, so yeah, I won't fall in love with it, but
Hey, if it's there, I'm just saying.
What does New Year's Eve look like for you now after a win like this, Sam? What do you do from here?
enjoy the win with my teammates.